Hello, my friends. Hello, and welcome once again to Stately Von Manor. And it is once again Tagless Tuesday. I did have a couple tags lined up, but I'm not going to do them because I suddenly realized it suddenly dawned on my tiny little brain that the year is kind of almost up. We've only got a few months left in the year, which got me thinking about all the stuff I have planned for reading for the rest of the year. And I realized I'm probably not going to be able to read it all. So, a few months ago, when my channel was new-ish, I did a video called Must Reads for 2021. Guess how many of those books I've read? Not many. I did read Rebecca. That was on that kind of TBR-ish video. That was one of my must-reads that I actually did read. But a lot of those other books, no, I didn't get to. So they're going to be must-reads for 2022, I guess. I'm going to go into 2022 with a better plan. I came into this year with no plan. Because when I started this year, I wasn't even on BookTube yet, which has focused my plans quite a bit. I didn't used to have TBRs before I did BookTube. I just kind of read whatever, whenever. And I know you can be a booktuber and do that. But I found I haven't been that way. I didn't plan on making TBRs, and I ended up making TBRs that I didn't keep. So they're plans. I make plans videos more than TBR videos, but they're really TBRs. I just don't read everything on my TBR like ever. So it got me thinking about the rest of this year. And okay, what do I really want to read this year? Or at least get started on reading this year. And I came up with like a pile of books that I really want to get to. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to it all this year. But I pulled it all out. And we'll just see how I do for the rest of the year. And the reason I'm pulling it all out is because there are a couple books that are really long and take a long time to read. Now, right now, for example, I'm reading this monster, The Stand, which is gigantic, by Stephen King. I am on page, what page am I on? 311. Normally, that's not bad when you're reading a book to be on page 311, but this book is a 1,400-page book because Stephen King, he just can't stop when he's writing books. So this will be an interesting book to talk about. I'll say I didn't read the first time I read it. It would have to have been the original uncut version of the original cut version of The Stand. Excuse me, the original published version. This is the uncut restored version, the complete and uncut version, as it says. I realized as I was reading it that he actually updated some of the cultural references from the 70s to the 80s. I guess this was released, at 90, something like that. And of course, all the cultural references which he updated are now horribly out of date, which is the problem with updating books. Eventually, all of your updates are old. I would have preferred if he had just kept everything the way it was originally, and if he just restored stuff that was cut out without tinkering over it and giving his George Lucas special edition to The Stand where he updates references. I mean, how many people know who Spuds MacKenzie was or what Spuds MacKenzie was? Probably not many. So, stuff like that. Why? But it's a compulsively readable book, even though there have been a couple terrible scenes in this book. Parts of this book have just been so bad. And a lot of stuff is really good. So it's been a mixed bag, but it's been a fun mixed bag. I will give it that. And I'm only on page 311. There's a heck of a lot of book left on this. But it's going to take a while to read this. Definitely am not going to finish it this month. So it's going into October, this guy, which sucks because This was going to be my big October book. This is The Dark Descent, one of the most important horror anthologies ever. The Dark Descent has all kinds of great writers in it. It's a fantastic book, but it's also really long. This is another book that's over 1,000 pages. And I was hoping to read it in October. I'm hoping to start it in October. But before I even get to The Dark Descent, I do want to read Dune Messiah because I'm behind on my Frank Herbert books. Dune Messiah I've got to read. I really want to read Dune Messiah. I would like to read Children of Dune too, which I think I left in the other room. I would like to read Children of Dune also this year. Definitely have got to read this one though, because I've kicked this one down the road a bit as it is, and I really want to read it. So I want to continue with my Frank Herbert-a-thon, which has been postponed frequently this year. I would blame it on COVID, but it's not because of COVID. I just postponed it for other giant books. So yeah, I'm hoping to get to this year. But stuck on this. So after I do that, and I do these, I've got to think, okay, what else am I going to be able to fit in this year? Now, I also had my vintage science fiction project. I have a ton of vintage science fiction. I got a couple big boxes of vintage science fiction from eBay, and I vowed to read every one of those books. And I'm going to stay true to my word, although it is taking longer than I thought. But the next couple that I have on my plate, I still have to read this David Mason book, The Shores of Tomorrow, which kind of looks kind of good. About dimension hopping, I think. Something to do with crossing into different dimensions or something or other. The Shores of Tomorrow came in one of those shipments, and it has a great cover, and it actually looks kind of interesting. So I'm hoping to get that one for my vintage science fiction project, and I also want to get to this one. This is an ace double novel. I've got The Off-Worlders here by John Baxter. That's one of the ace doubles, and the next one is our old friend Lynn Carter here, The Star Magicians. Yeah, so I've got a couple on the ace double that I want to read. I definitely want to get to these two books. We'll see. But also this year, I got to get to this guy. My Necroscope retrospective. I haven't even gotten to the second book yet, and I got to at least get to the second book. Vampire? I think it's Vampire. I think. I was told, I think that's what it was. So definitely want to get to that. Look at this poor girl having a tough time in there. This is a pretty cool book. It's a great looking book. And the first Necroscope was fantastic. Brian Lumley hit the first one out of the park. It was a great book. Really looking forward to this one. So definitely, if I can't do this October, November definitely, I'm thinking. But I've also got yet another project that I've got going on that I want to continue with. October, I've also got a couple Edgar Rice Burroughs books I want to get to for the great Edgar Rice Burroughs reread. I've got The Beasts of Tarzan, which is the third Tarzan novel. And I've got The Warlord of Mars, which is the third Mars book. Will I actually be able to read those? I don't know. If I can read those in October or not. I would like to at least get close, because then that is going to be followed up this year with The Son of Tarzan. Look at The Son of Tarzan there. You didn't know that Tarzan was a multi-generational saga. Well, now you know. It is. So that's The Son of Tarzan. And the fourth Mars book, which I want to get to this year, I'll probably start the Pellucidar series, the Inner World series, next year, as well as continuing on with Tarzan and Mars. But the fourth Mars book is Thuvia, the Maid of Mars. I love this cover by Krenkel. fantastic old Ace copy, which I'm really, really happy to have. So really looking forward to getting to that one. That's probably all the Burroughs I'll be able to squeeze in this year. Definitely want to get those in though. But there's a couple other things I'm doing this year. Can I get these guys in? I have to, because it's part of Book Track. So Book Track 2021. For October, it's going to be Deep Space Nine. So my October Deep Space Nine book is this one, Emissary, which is a novel based on a teleplay. The novel's by J.M. Dillard, based on a teleplay for the first episode. I believe it was the first episode, yeah, of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I thought, hey, why not? That's a good place to start reading Deep Space Nine books with the first one. And so I'm going to read that next month. And then November is going to be Voyager. And so I'm going to read this one because this is the one that came with my other eBay Star Trek books, which is Death of a Neutron Star, Star Trek Voyager. Don't know anything about this book at all. So that'll be interesting. But in December, I'm supposed to have a Star Trek book, which is going to be based on the series Enterprise. And I don't have any Enterprise books. So I'm going to have to get my hands on an Enterprise book. Maybe it'll have to be a ebook, maybe. We'll see. We'll see how that works out. On top of all that, I've still got my reading every book by Stephen King. This is not going to be my last Stephen King book this year. I would like to get in a couple more. We'll see. But I definitely want to get one in for November and one in for December. Next one is, of course, going to be The Dead Zone. I'm reading these in publication order. So The Dead Zone follows The Stand. And fortunately, this is not a restored version of The Dead Zone, so all the cultural references will be appropriate for the time in which it was written. So at least there's that. And then that is followed by Firestarter, which I don't remember being my favorite Stephen King book. I remember it just being kind of like, it was okay. But we'll see. I read all of these books when I was very young. And I noticed, just reading the few books that I've read, and then this one especially, that everything is a lot different than I remember it being, probably because I read them all when I was either in my teens or my early 20s, and now I'm very old. So that's probably why it all seems different. I noticed I'm a bit more critical now than I was, although I've really been enjoying reading all this stuff. This has been interesting to read because this is getting to the point where Stephen King just kind of is unfiltered and doesn't worry about editing anything, and whatever he thinks he just throws on the page without thinking whether it's going to be, good or relevant. He just throws it all out there. And in some ways that's terrible because it's made for a couple terrible scenes. In other ways, it's really, really interesting because we have an author that we're getting totally unfiltered, it seems like. We're just getting this guy's unfiltered thoughts as he writes his stories down. And once he writes them, I think it's just like, yeah, there you go. This is my story. And that's interesting. So it's interesting to get an unfiltered Stephen King. Like I said, it's a mixed bag, but it's an entertaining mixed bag. This is compulsively readable. I will give it that. And I've been having a good time with The Stand. Also, it's been a while since I've talked about the X-Men. I'm doing a read every issue of Challenge of the X-Men, and I haven't talked about it much because I've been slogging through the original X-Men, and I have realized, after slogging through 4 Epic collections, that the Silver Age X-Men were not that great. A lot of those issues are just okay. And that's being charitable in some cases. But finally, I'm on to the X-Men that I loved, which was the newer X-Men that were when the X-Men was recreated by Chris Claremont. Finally, I'm onto this, and I'm actually going to be doing a Epic Comic Book Wednesday on this guy, not this week, but next week probably, if I finish it in time. That's probably going to be everything, but pushing the envelope and probably going into next year are a couple other things I'm wanting to do. For one thing, I really need to get to this. This is Memories of Ice by Steven Erikson. This is the third volume in the book, the Malazan Book of the Fallen. The first two volumes were fantastic. I read those earlier in the year, before I got myself bogged down in Stephen King. So definitely want to get to this, Memories of Ice. But I'll be lucky to get to all this other stuff. If I get to all that other stuff and I finish all of that stuff, I'm going to get to this, Memories of Ice by Steven Erikson. Really want to continue this series because I'm enjoying it quite a bit. And I also want to start a new project. You're like, what? Another project? Are you insane? Yes, the answer is yes. But I have a new project that probably I'm not going to start till next year. And that's going to be my Library of America project, which is just doing something that I used to do. I used to read about 6 full Library of America volumes every year. Every couple months, I will have read a whole Library of America volume. And the thing with those is that they've got quite a few books in them. The next one I'm going to read is this first Ray Bradbury volume of the Library of America. It's got 4 books in it. This one has The Martian Chronicles, Fahrenheit 451, Dandelion Wine, and Something Wicked This Way Comes. So that's a lot of Ray Bradbury. But I want to start doing this again, my Library of America project. Really want to read this book. Again, this is probably going to be a 2022 project, but you never know. I do kind of know, but you never know. This is probably going to be a project for next year. Now I'm going to see how all of this stuff pans out. We'll see. We'll see how much of the stand I get done in the next couple days. Not much. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I will, at the end of October, I will probably come up with a status report and a clearer idea of where I'll be at towards the end of the year. Going into next year, it will be the first time I'm going into the year as a booktuber with structured reading. But I'm going to be making more what I hope to be realistic plans. But we'll see. You know how plans go. But I'm going to definitely be thinking ahead to what I can actually read during a year. So there you go. That is my, whatever this is, my looking forward to the end of this year plans. And that's that. I will catch you next time. Be sure to catch me tomorrow for my Epic Comic Book Wednesday. I'm going to be talking about a character called Daredevil. So I will see you then. I'm back. Just a quick little addition here, because I just watched a video by Plagued by Visions where he talked about his group reads for his channel this month, Juan, at his channel. And one of the books he's going to be doing is this one. This is Ray Russell's Case Against Satan. And I'm like, okay, I'm on board with that. It's a penguin. So this will give me a good Sunday penguin. It's small. I should be able to fit it in October between other things. And he's also going to be doing James Herbert's The Fog. I think it's James Herbert. I think it's James. I don't have it in front of me. I don't have a physical copy of that book. I have it on the Kindle, so that's probably how I'll read it. So yeah. I'm adding those two. Yeah. There you go. Little addition. Okay, guys. Now I will see you next time here at Stately Von Manor.